Hi everyone, this is Amanda. I wanted to hop on real quick and give a bit of a content warning on this episode. We end up having an in-depth conversation about anti-Semitism, and we understand with recent events that are happening in Palestine and Israel that this might be a sensitive topic for some. We recorded this episode back in September, but felt like the conversation was a good one. Starting around the 49-minute mark to the end of the episode is when we have the bulk of this conversation. Like I said, if this is a sensitive topic for you, please take care of yourself. We all really hope that you enjoy this episode, and let's jump into it.
Warning. The topics discussed on this podcast are subject to adult themes and languages. We seek to unravel the unexplained and unknown. This is Encounters.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Encounters. My name's Dakota.
And I'm Amanda.
And today we are discussing the conspiracy theories behind the Denver airport with our Mistress of Conspiracies, and Natalie.
Yay!
Hello.
Hi, Natalie.
Welcome back, Natalie. We're so happy to have you here.
Yes, we really are.
It's always fun to be here.
Bringing us another conspiracy from your tome.
I just picture Natalie with like a cauldron, just like sitting there cackling, pulling out just different cards with different conspiracies on them.
Yeah, I just have like a giant grimoire of conspiracy theories. I'm like, let me open it up to the Denver airport
right.
chapter
like
for
light.
you guys.
I'm excited.
This one I'm really interested in. Amanda and I have talked about the Denver airport a couple of times, like not on the podcast, but in passing, and we never really knew how to bring it into the main episodes because we're like, okay, it's got Satanism, it's got aliens a little bit, it's got a little bit of everything in it, but like not enough to do one whole thing. So we were very excited to figure out that with our conspiracy theory episode, we were going to be able to bring it in here and kind of hit all the different aspects of it.
Right.
Yes.
Amanda, before we get too far, you got to...
Yes, I was just about to say that before we get too far.
Wonderful.
If anyone is interested to hear about the things that me and Dakota have going on with Encounters, our YouTube, and all of that kind of stuff, we are going to have a special announcement at the end of the episode. So please stick around to hear about all the cool things we got coming up. Now back to the Denver airport.
Ooh.
So for me, when I really first started hearing about the Denver airport and like hearing that it was connected to conspiracies and all that kind of stuff is when Obama was there for some reason. I don't remember exactly what was going on, but there was some kind of threat to national security, and Obama ended up in Denver, and a lot of people were like, look, see, we told you that Denver airport, it has bunkers. Why is Obama here? And I'm like, I don't know what anyone's talking about, but okay.
Psh, thanks, Obama.
Right? But that kind of was the first thing that kind of opened my eyes to it. What about you, Dakota? How do you feel like you heard about it?
Honestly, when we did our first research on fucking reptilians.
Ooh, that's so
going
true.
Into the aspects of lizard people and their ties to potentially having underground bunkers out in the middle of Denver.
Mm-hmm.
As if a lizard wants to live in the middle of Denver. But okay.
I know, right? It's cold.
But that's not even the craziest part of reptilians. So it was just kind of like, okay, moving on. And then going into our Satanic Panic episodes and being like, oh, New World Order. Oh, okay. Great. Interesting. At an airport?
Right.
It's just very weird. Some of the stuff, though, that I've learned today and that we're going to talk about today, I didn't have any clue about. And I'm very excited. I very much... My favorite part of this whole story is Lucifer. So
I absolutely cannot wait. I'm foaming at the mouth, actually, but I'm going to calm down. Natalie, how do you feel like the Denver airport kind of came into your sight and into your radar, actually?
So I would say it kind of, I feel like a lot of my conspiracy theory stuff loops back around to when I first started digging into everything and I found the website Vigilant Citizen, because he has also done an article with his Sinister Sights series on the Denver airport. And he talks about, you know, Lucifer and the artwork and the Freemason time capsule thing that they have there, and the weird gargoyles and all that fun stuff. And ever since then, I've just been really fascinated by it, I think. And then when I had a layover flight there 3 years ago, I didn't get to see any of that because I was very focused on making sure I got to the proper gate, because airport anxiety is very real.
Right. And two, that's a huge airport, right? Like that's not it's not a small airport.
It's massive.
Yeah.
And it's very overwhelming.
Right.
But I just remember being in there, and I mean, I've been to not a whole lot of airports, but I've been to several. Like I've even been to LAX and O'Hare, the big one in Chicago. Denver was quiet. It was like weirdly quiet for how big it was and how crowded it was. So yeah, I think I've just always been, and I think kind of
interesting.
Calling back to what Dakota said in the beginning, this kind of has a little sprinkle of all the conspiracy theories in it,
right,
which is fun for people like me. So yeah, ever since I first read that very first article, it's always been something kind of tucked away in the back of my brain.
Is it haunted? Do we get the like trifecta? Are there some ghosties up in here? I did not see anything.
I don't think it's haunted, but it's more like it's got the reptiles, it's got the government, it's got Freemasons, it's got weird symbolic art, it's got underground bunkers, it's got,
right, it
could be a concentration camp in the future for citizens. It's got like a little bit of everything.
Yeah, totally. So, and I remember seeing aliens. Like it's got so much. And let's not forget Nazis.
And if we go by the basic laws of how we see with residual hauntings, the amount of people and energy that gets passed through there daily, there could be some remnants of energy left behind. I don't know if it's your stereotypical like, oh, there's a pilgrim woman walking the halls with the head of a child, but it might be like some residual energy hanging out. So it could technically be the trifecta.
Okay. I see. It's perfect for us. Well,
it also could be nothing. That's the
I know, that's very true. And that's definitely something they are trying to push. But
yeah, I was about to say, if you ask the airplane, if you ask the airport,
if you ask the particular airplanes, like, they're not going to say shit to you.
You talk to one of them Boeing airplanes, you'd be like, is this place fucking satanic? And if it talks back to you, it probably is satanic.
You know it is. No, totally. Well, do you feel like we should jump into what's going on at the Denver airport?
Yeah, what is going on at the Denver airport? What the fuck is going on?
Tell us, Natalie.
So I think because a lot of this is just going to be us talking about the theories and the conspiracies. So what we know for sure, obviously, is that it opened in 1995 after being delayed for 2 years, right? Mm-hmm. There was a lot of construction delays. There was a strike that happened with some workers. The project was originally only supposed to be like $1.7 billion, and then the final bill was $4.8 billion.
God damn.
So
only $4.8 billion.
Fucking right. You better have a bunker full of rich people down there, because how else are we going to afford it? Shit. Sorry.
It was only $3.1 billion over budget. That's all.
Totally.
There was a huge, like, automated baggage system that they had poured a lot of money into underground. And even United Airlines refused to kind of join the Denver airport until they knew for sure that that was going to be promised to them. And then literally, talk about embarrassing. I think like a year before it officially opened, the city invited a bunch of reporters. Like the mayor was there. They were going to show off this baggage system because it was like state of the art. It was supposed to be really like automated and advanced for its time. And it was fucking throwing people's bags off the tracks. Like clothing and personal items were just being thrown everywhere. So the mayor was like, absolutely not.
Totally.
I'm so embarrassed by this. Absolutely not. We're pushing this back. And that was another reason why it got delayed until 95. And I think after only 10 years of a lot of expensive maintenance and work on this super expensive baggage system, they just said fuck it. And so now that system is just not even used.
I saw
and
that.
It's just underground, and it's still there.
Yeah.
Like some of the people that have worked there have talked about seeing it, and like the tracks were still there, covered in cobwebs. But it's just so weird that they would spend all that money on that and then just give up after, you know, a little less than 10 years and then just leave it sitting down there. But some people say that that was one of the ways they kind of poured money into the project secretly. They just said they were pouring it into this baggage system. Meanwhile, it was going towards other things, and the whole excavating of the tunnels underground to make room for the system was actually being used for other things, etc., etc. But we know that several of the construction companies that were hired to do work on the airport, construction, electricians, things like that, there were different contractors hired for different areas of the airport. And then as soon as they were done with their part of the job, they were fired. So some people think it was like a strategy to make sure no one knew the full scope of what was going on with everything.
Did they
which is
get
kind of
paid?
interesting.
I'm so sorry. This is so off topic.
What?
They got paid before they got fired, though, right? Like they would
Yes, of
finish,
course.
but then they wouldn't get to continue whatever work they were doing like further on.
And
into
then
the
there
airport.
were some stories where like some electricians said that they were hired to lay like so many miles of cables and then like down the tunnels, and then they were told, okay, just leave it like unfinished and we'll pay you, and then we'll write up a new contract so that you can finish the next stage of the job. And then they were fired, and they were never contracted or even contacted to pick up the project again.
Mm-hmm.
So allegedly it's to keep people from knowing the full scope of what's going on down there in the tunnels. Dun dun dun.
Okay. It couldn't be like maybe because they're shitty. No, just kidding.
It
Their
is
work was
shitty.
What's crazy too is that there is over 5,000 miles of fiber optic cables that were installed for communications in the airport, and the United States coast to coast is only 3,000 miles in comparison.
What do you
there's
mean?
just there's just like a whole lot of damn just tunnels everywhere.
Yeah.
Enough
wait.
to scope out America twice. Well, once and a half.
Okay,
Yeah, once and a half.
I got a little. I'm so sorry. Let me clarify because I got myself a little confused. So you're saying they have cables?
Yeah, so it's fiber optic cables installed for communications.
That
And
are running.
Yeah, just for the airport alone. And there's 5,300 miles of these cables that were installed at the airport. And the whole United States from coast to coast is only 3,000 miles.
Okay, so there's like 2,200. I don't know what I'm saying. Never mind.
Why are you trying to
There's-
do math? There's so many goddamn cords.
There's just extra cord. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. There's just a lot of extra cords is what we're talking about.
Yeah, there's a shit ton of these
Cords.
cables used for communications.
Where?
And for
Run.
what? Like,
Yeah, like,
Where are they?
obviously the airport is not the size of the United States. That'd be crazy.
yeah, I mean, obviously an airport is going to have a decent amount, but
Right.
almost the width and a half of the size of the entire country. Who are you communicating with, my dude?
But it's an international.
The electrician installing could have also just been like, I'm just going to leave some extra down here just in case you ever need some.
Right. But it's also an international airport, though. They're not just communicating with, like... would that add anything to it? The fact that it's international? I don't know enough about these cables, so I don't know if I'm just talking out of my
No,
ass.
because that part would be wireless. That would be online. They wouldn't have a cord that runs to...
I know, I can understand that, but they would still need, like, communication with the gate operators. Like, would that be something? Like, there might be more gates and stuff in an international airport than a regular airport. So maybe that's why there's extra. I don't know.
If there is a listener who is an expert in fiber optic cables,
And what the fuck they do.
and this sounds normal to you or it sounds absurd, leave a comment. Let us know, because we're not experts in this.
Right.
The article that I read just mentioned that was something fucking weird. But hey, you know, maybe that's average for a big hub of, air travel. I'm not an expert, but if there's one listening, leave a comment. Let us know.
Please.
Watch.
Please do.
That's the wild but true conspiracy on the Denver airport.
Are these cables.
It's all about the cables, man.
It's all about the cables. That Cat 5.
Right. Because I can also understand, and this will be the last thing I say about these cables, I promise. Because I can understand where the conspiracy comes in if there's, like, underground, whatever, and, you know, these extra cables are for that or something like that. Like, I could see that. I just don't know if that's something I should, like, really be hanging on to or just letting go at this point.
I mean, I see it exactly that way. Like, almost like hamster tubes running all underground this fucking airport where these cables are running through. So, to me, it's just like open space. I don't know. I'm very interested.
Yes.
Well, actually.
Yeah, I just saw that it was a pretty big number. Like, the width and a half of the entire country. And the article I read was like, hey, this is kind of weird.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, I have to mention that.
No, thank you. I appreciate it.
You gotta mention it. It's a pretty big number, you know? And let's see. As far as stuff that we already know, that is for sure fact. There is obviously a huge tunnel system. I mean, that's real because they had the baggage system built underground in the tunnels. The History Channel actually went to the Denver airport and met with a representative. Her name was Stacy, and he was talking about like some of the conspiracy theories, and she kind of walked him through everything, the artwork, the Freemason thing, took him down into the tunnels and drove him around. So we know for sure there is a big underground tunnel system. Now the theory is that it's larger than what most people have access to,
Right.
of course.
And
That
if,
it goes.
yeah, if I could jump in again real quick. I know I saw that too, right? Dakota, we both saw that clip of the History Channel.
Yeah.
They also showed that baggage thing too, the empty automatic baggage claim thing. It was really interesting to me the length they'll go to kind of get hold of this narrative. That I thought it was really interesting because a couple of the videos that I watched, they took you down into the tunnels, but of course they're only showing you what they want you to see. And they kept mentioning both videos, same wording, the exact same wording. It's like, we have thousands of employees that come down here. If there was something to see, somebody would have seen something, or like something like that. Which is like, Maybe, but didn't we just have like 3 whistleblowers coming out about like UFOs saying that the army is hiding stuff from the government? Like, just because there's a lot of people somewhere doesn't mean that they can't still hide things.
Don't even talk to me. We just had the Mexican Senate bring forth the bodies of alien mummies. Like, I cannot even.
The bodies.
The bodies, yes.
And all I can think of is when I saw the one mummified alien, it looked like the thing that lives in that guy's head in Men in Black 1. And I was just like, good God.
Right.
How did you get it so right?
Right.
Anyways,
but yeah.
Back to the Denver airport.
But it brings us back to like, it seems like they're also like the Denver airport itself is very much trying to form this narrative, and especially with these tunnels, because they will take people into them.
Well, they've even taken to the culture of embracing it. Like, I think they even have a whole month where they just talk about the different conspiracies. I'm looking at a flyer right now put out by the Denver airport that is talking about the different little secrets that they've got going on, and it's rather satirical in nature. Like, they give the conspiracy and then they give the reality behind it. For example, what we're talking about now, the idea is that they've got all these underground tunnels for alien conferences that are going smoothly. And they're like, nah, actually, it's just the luggage and golf carts zipping around while the train to get to gates, blah, 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 blah. And it was met with commotion with 1,000 people working down below. It caused some serious traffic. Make sure you yield to aliens, though. I was like, oh, okay, tongue-in-cheek.
Right.
I see you.
Well, and I liked how in the History Channel clip, she took him down to this like giant rock wall where they had their conversation, where it's like, oh, look, here's the end of the tunnel. That's it. It's just a wall. Nothing else to see. Like, y'all aren't fooling anybody. Come on.
Right.
We know it's a giant, like, we know for sure it's a giant system, and there's not just a why would you pick that wall? It's like, this is kind of off topic, but it makes me think of when celebrities do their apology videos and they choose like the most like basic looking wall of their property to sit in front of to film their apology videos, where it's like, look guys, I'm just like you. I'm gonna film this apology video with no makeup on. And I'm really gonna just be so down to earth. Look guys, we're in this tunnel system and we're gonna talk about how there's nothing creepy going on, and we're even gonna have this conversation in front of the wall of rock. This is the end of the tunnels. This is it. And it's okay. There's nothing to see here, guys. It's just a wall.
Meanwhile, we have videos coming out of lizard people caught in these underground tunnels and graffiti-like alien symbols that have been put on there, all of which has been claimed to be employees having fun, trying to bring the provenance of the airport up, but...
Yeah, allegedly some of the sighted reptilians are just employees in, like, masks and stuff.
Which I went to Spirit Halloween, and I'm not gonna lie, some of these masks, yeah, that could be a lizard person.
They're looking pretty realistic these days, I'm not gonna lie.
I watched a cow sing Sia's chandelier, and I was like, I am uncomfortable. Yeah, on that note, the next conspiracy.
Well, I was actually going to get into something that you both are very excited about.
Lucifer?
Yes. It's time.
It is time.
Because this is also something that's very real. There's not a conspiracy theory attached to it. This is very real.
Other than it's cursed. Potentially cursed.
Well, it did kill the guy that made it, so...
Right.
Yes, so there is we've learned.
There is some blood sacrifice that's going on
right.
with this statue.
Like Frankenstein's monster, man. It kills its creator. Let's hear about it. Tell us more about this giant blue Mustang.
Yeah, it's 32 feet tall. It's this giant blue horse with glowing red eyes and a veiny... Can you say cock on y'all's podcast?
Yes.
I'm sure I've said worse.
Bet. Veiny cock and a veiny butthole on display for everyone. It's very anatomically correct, I suppose.
Right.
But yeah, the sculptor who created it, literally part of it came loose and smashed into him, and it like cut one of his arteries, and he died. And his children had to finish the sculpture.
It's important to note that it is supposed to be a reference to the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse, but when asked about it, he said that the red eyes were interpretive of his father's neon sign business. But I don't understand why he made a 9,000-pound, 30-foot tall blue horse.
And when we say blue, it is like an electric blue, like...
Yeah, that motherfucker is cerulean.
Right.
Yes.
And this kind of brings me back to the Ouija board episode we just did, because the same thing kind of happened where the guy built... Y'all just heard about this. More for Natalie. The guy had just finished building like a Ouija board warehouse, and he fell off of the roof when like a piece of this flagpole broke, and he just like fell off.
Oh.
Right. And so I'm just like wondering. It's kind of interesting that you mentioned like blood sacrifice type of thing. It's just kind of interesting.
That's what I'm saying, man.
I think the man may have just been fucking around with a 9,000-pound horse, and I just also don't understand how that happened. Like, and I didn't find anywhere that talked about it specifically. Like, it didn't say artist smashed to death by Lucifer, but they also don't call it Lucifer. It's Mustang. Mm-hmm. I must make sure we say that otherwise. And the artist is Luis Jimenez.
Mm-hmm.
And I would like to say that the airport's position on this is the conspiracy they refer to is Lucifer, and they say he's big, he's blue, he's a sculpture. Though it's true that a portion of the Mustang fell onto Jimenez during causing his death, Mustang was completed by his sons after his passing. The red eyes are attributed to the father, who owned a neon sign shop in which Jimenez worked during his childhood. Today, Mustang remains a controversial piece of art and is one of the most iconic pieces of the airport's collection. Love it or hate it. And that is not giving me any information.
No,
right.
It's like, why that? I mean,
right.
you could have paid homage to your dad's neon sign shop in so many ways. I mean, I want to know if he was contracted to make this giant blue, atomically
Veiny.
correct, creepy Mustang, or if they were like, hey, we want you to make something weird and cool, and he just went with it. Like, I don't know if he was given direction for it or
Right.
what.
Right. I agree, because like Dakota, you just mentioned, it's supposed to represent the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. Were there supposed to be 4 of them, or just this one blue one? Because if there's supposed to be 4,
fair,
then maybe.
I would say, to be fair, it's not necessarily supposed to represent that. It's indicative of it.
Yeah.
It's very much like, yo, this is very indicative of the horsemen of death and the apocalypse. But
Yeah, that's definitely.
they never said this is symbolic of.
Okay, that makes sense, because I'm like, that's also weird, but you know, as artists, we understand that artists are very weird. That is something they would definitely do. Okay, and so the glowing eyes are supposed to represent his dad with the neon sign. Okay,
And
anyway.
the veiny genitals are also supposed to represent the dad with the neon sign. I'm just kidding.
Shut up.
I was like, where did you read that? Oh my god.
I almost just want that to be the part that the kids put on. They were like, this is just what we wanted.
Right.
But that's not the only crazy art piece either.
No, there's so much weird art. And that's not even... Yeah, okay. So we'll talk about the art, and then we'll talk about the Freemason stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's a nice little bow or little cherry on top. So there's a lot of weird art. Like, there's one piece that's kind of native style, but it's got like an alien head, and there's like a baby buried underground in one side, and like this weird alien flower. That one's not talked about as much, but it is still very weird. I don't think the article I read even knows the name of the piece or the artist, but it's very weird. It's very, very weird. And then, of course, there's the much more infamous pieces where it's, you know, casual things like dead children in coffins and cities on fire and Nazis in gas masks. And
Under a rainbow.
Yeah,
like,
of course, under a
what
rainbow.
the hell?
Yeah.
I don't understand. And they definitely look like Nazis. Like, they don't have the swastika. They don't have all of that. But that is a stormtrooper with an AK-47 with a bayonet on it.
Yeah, and a scimitar stabbing a dove.
Under a rainbow.
Yes.
Also, if you look in the bottom right corner of that piece, you see the paper. I don't know if any of you guys are looking at it.
There's a person standing in front of it in the picture I'm looking at.
So, in the full mural of that piece with the weird, like, Nazi... Well, and if you look on the top of his hat thing, it's like the weird-looking eagle.
Yeah,
which is indicative of, like, Nazi stuff. Yeah. So, in the bottom right corner of that mural, there's, like, a paper with writing on it. And it's an actual letter written by a 14-year-old that died in Auschwitz. And I can read it. Hold on, let me pull this. Okay, so it literally says this. I was once a little child who longed for other worlds, but I am no more a child, for I have known fear. I have learned to hate. How tragic, then, is youth which lives with enemies, with gallows ropes. Yet I still believe, I only sleep today, that I'll wake up a child again and start to laugh and play. And that was written by an actual child who died in a concentration camp.
Yeah. The mural is called Children of the World Dream Peace, and it's by mural artist Leo Tanguma.
Yeah, and it's like a 2-part mural. So what's weird is that, so we read from left to right. And the first part of the mural is actually like them, it's like all the children of the world, and like the weird Nazi
thing,
gas mask person is dead, and all of the children are bringing these weapons wrapped up in the flags of their country together. And there's like a little like German boy with a hammer who's making something out of these swords. And it's supposed to be that, you know, they've all come together to bring down this figure of war and death and destruction. And then the right side, like the second part of the mural, is the one where he's, you know, stabbing the dove and the destruction. We read from left to right. So...
But is that just indicative of Americans?
Huh?
Other countries read the opposite, right?
That's
true. Yeah, but this
is
being done in an American airport.
Right, but doesn't mean it was done by an American artist.
Well, let's see. I'll look up his...
Yeah, look it up. Because that's what I was...
I'll chase that rabbit.
No, because that's what... once again, this is only the Denver airport reporting these things. Is that you're supposed to read it the opposite way. So I wonder, especially...
He was born in Texas.
Okay.
Between Corpus Christi and San Antonio.
Yeah, because they talk about, oh no, you're supposed to interpret it the opposite way.
Yes.
So you're supposed to see the evilness first and then see all the happiness.
Which makes sense because of how the rainbow also is going.
Mm-hmm. I just thought
The thing is, with these Naziistic like imagery, it wouldn't. It's one thing if it stopped there, but it doesn't stop there. You see it again and again in the different like aspects of the airport. One of them is not art, so I don't want to like jump ahead, but it's just crazy to see like actual SS soldiers, and people don't think anything of it while they're like, oh, these children are crying and they want peace, but oh, suddenly I'm looking at the runways and what do I see? Oh no, maybe there is more Nazism here than I would like to admit.
Well, even in one of the other big murals, which is called Peace and Harmony with Nature, which is, I believe, by the same artist. I could be wrong, but I believe that's by the same artist.
I think you're right, because he did 40 pieces for the airport. So I'm sure.
So this is the one where there's like different animal species that are dead. There's some that are in like glass boxes. There's, the dead children in coffins. And the far right, in the bottom right corner, if you zoom in, that little girl, the blonde girl, she's holding a Bible and a yellow Juden star, which was used by the Nazis to identify Jews. So there's another little interesting.
Yeah, because it sounds like this artist also has a thing, especially if it's all his art.
Well, and like it's when people think of fascists taking over the world, they think of Nazis. Like
right, totally. And that's where we kind of
not everyone does, but
I'd
say a good portion of the population does.
And that's when you get back into the New World Order stuff, because that's a big fear wrapped around this Denver airport too, right? Is the elites having an underground bunker in this place, right?
Wait, before we go there, can we talk about one more art thing?
Yeah, totally.
I fucking love the gargoyles.
I was going to mention them too.
Yeah, no, like, just before we move on to New World Order, because, that's the meat of this whole fucking conspiracy, but the gargoyles are the cutest things, and they're all coming out of little luggages, and people are like, that's Satanism, and I'm like, okay, whatever, but, like, they are so cute.
Right.
Well, there was also, they had, like, a animatronic one named Greg.
They did.
Named Greg, who would, like, welcome to the headquarters of the Illuminati.
Yeah,
and
okay, yeah.
So many people complained about it. They, like, toned it down a lot because they were like, no, that's satanic, that's evil, we don't like that, we're getting bad vibes from that. And so they, like, toned it down really.
Yet the fucking stormtrooper stabbing a dove under a rainbow, that doesn't, okay.
But once again,
I adopt Greg? I would like Greg.
Yeah, Greg sounds cool too. But once again, when you're talking about this like art and stuff, like we mentioned before, it does make a tiny bit of sense if you're scared of fascism why these art pieces would look like that. I don't necessarily agree that it should be in an airport. Don't get me wrong. I think that's kind of an intense imagery. Yes, imagery for an airport. But it seems like he himself, this artist too, has a thing with like.
Well, and he was commissioned, so somebody paid him to do all of this and accepted the art for all of this.
Right, totally.
I think it's probably because it being a high traffic area, they were like, let's get this message in and out. But like, what is the message?
Yeah, and it's about...
I get one message looking at it, I get one message reading it, and then I get one message trying to digest why the hell you have this. Right.
Because the way you're supposed to interpret it, or like the way the artist would like you to interpret it, actually could make sense. But like Natalie is saying, like, we also don't read that direction, so it does look like it's going from this story of peace and harmony to this like death and destruction when it's supposed to be the opposite. It's saying if we get rid of, well, at least that's how the Denver airport would like you to look at this, is that you're going from death, destruction. This kid talking about, you know, in the letter, he's talking about wanting to be a child again, but of course all this war and destruction is keeping him from that. And so he's dreaming of this peaceful world, and that's how you can kind of see the rainbows connecting it. But like you're talking about one thing, like you're saying it's an airport, you're probably running past this thing, you just see like a giant image of like Nazi with these like emaciated people. Like, yeah, I would be like, what the fuck is going on? Like, people aren't normally like, but they could, you know, if they wanted to stand there for an hour and like really dissect it, like if they were in an art museum where they know that's what they should be doing, you know what I mean? So I could see why seeing that.
I just want to add here, if it was a secret underground bunker that is supposed to restart humanity after a nuclear fallout, what fucking imagery are you giving these people as they emerge out of this nuclear fallout tunnel from below? Right. All of a sudden, they've got Nazis under rainbows trying to repopulate whatever's left of blank portion of the world now. I know it would still technically be Denver, but who knows when it would end, and who knows who would own it and what they.
Right. Totally, I totally agree.
Well, you're also assuming that it is meant to repopulate the world by any sort of survivors, instead of it being a underground city or bunker for the elite, who is very aware of this agenda.
Yeah.
And so is very aware that this was the plan, especially if you look at some of the symbolism and the story that the artwork is telling, and you look at like the burning city in the background and some of the ethnicities of the children that are dead in the coffins. And if you tie it into like this agenda of, okay, well, we know the elites want massive depopulation of the earth. We know that they want a one world government, and we know that they're really focused on kind of the restoration of nature because humanity is a plague. And even the Georgia Guidestones talked about you're going to have to reduce the population to leave room for nature. And that was also something that was put together by Freemasons.
Right.
So it's similar themes going on with this agenda. So I think if it is bunker, or if it's planned to be an underground city of sorts for the elite, that artwork is not going to surprise them, you know?
Right, because it's them behind the mask.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
They are the thing stabbing the dove.
Yeah. And it's on display. Like, a lot of the
if it's real.
Right, of course.
Right, that would be, yeah. Which...
This is in no way to imply that the Denver International Airport are fascists or want to initiate a new world order. Just want to throw that out there for clarification.
Yeah.
No, we're just talking about conspiracies, baby. That's all.
Right. And I think we're about to get into a really interesting talking point that me and Dakota were just talking about earlier, but I want you to finish with the Freemasons, and then we can kind of get into all of that other stuff.
Oh yeah, the weird capstone and capsule. So there's a Freemason capstone that was planted there, and it talks about the New World Airport Commission, which is not a commission that exists. And when the History Channel interviewed that lady, she was like, no, you don't understand. It was the New World Airport Commission. It was just a group of, people, politicians, influential people that got together and helped fund this project and really wanted to see it come to life. And the guy was like, yeah, but it has like a Freemason symbol on it, and that's kind of weird, right? And she was like, no, not really. There's Freemason capstones in buildings all across the country, and they're behind the funding of a lot of big public buildings, and no, that's not weird at all. It's actually very normal. That girl?
And I mean, she's not technically wrong in the fact that there are a lot of Freemason supported and funded buildings in America. The question is, why? Why you want to do that? And why is it here? It is weird that my building doesn't have a Freemason stone.
sorry, I feel like
Not that I want one, but like
I feel like I sound so skeptical because I feel like that is true. I feel like the thing we forget about with the Freemasons a lot, even though we've covered it, they're stone workers, Like, right? I'm not crazy. The Freemasons started as a group of like stone workers.
they
Yeah, of
did,
course.
but my grandfather was a police officer, so like he wasn't a stone worker.
Right, but only because like yes, nowadays it's not, but we still do like need. I don't know. I'm going back and forth with this. What I'm trying to say is, it's not, to me, it doesn't seem that crazy unusual because you do see that in a lot of, especially like older buildings. You're going to see Freemason symbols.
Well, the reason for me it's not super shady is because out of all of the organizations we talk about being involved with the Denver airport, the Freemasons are the like lowest on the rung to me. Like
Yeah.
they talk about the Illuminati, the New World Order, Nazis. I just don't feel like the Freemasons, which is just a bunch of older men drinking at a Christian club and talking about how much they hate their home life, is the same as Illuminati, shadow government, or the millionaire executives all deciding what's going to happen throughout the world.
Totally.
But it is still the fact that not every building has a Freemason stone. There's got to be a reason why it was there. And why did these specific gentlemen that formed the New World Banking Order, or
That's not what it says. That's not what it is.
okay,
It's an airport system,
I don't know what
bro.
it says. Can I get some clarification, Natalie? Could you say it for us one more time what it is?
The New World Airport Commission.
That why did they do that? Why did you fund that? What was your purpose? I'm not trying to be bitter or mean or be like everyone's got an ulterior motive, but you know what, people with lots of money, sometimes they've got ulterior motives.
Oh,
And I want to know
totally.
why.
And it makes a little bit of sense because I'll always keep prefacing this with, this is what the Denver airport wants you to think. It's supposed to be this new, in 1995, it was a newer airport system, blah, 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 blah. So yeah, if you're a Freemason and you're from like older money, you got to remember to invest in new things. So they invested in this huge international airport. Isn't it like one of the third busiest airports in the United States?
Girl, I'm on a conspiracy theory website. I didn't look at any real stats.
Yeah, you're bringing... Wait a minute, you're bringing facts over here? Hold on a second.
Not me bringing logic. Stop it.
I was unprepared. I don't have facts. Hold on. I don't have facts.
No.
Let me go to Wikipedia really quick.
Right. So, like, to me, like Dakota just said, Freemasons for me are on the lowest run. But I could understand on top of everything else why, like, yeah, my little tin hat would be tingling if I was with all of these things put together. Yeah, totally.
But we've also mentioned there are rungs and tiers to Freemasonry as well. Like your everyday people at the lodge downtown in Valley Mills, Texas. No, I'm not calling anyone out. That was just the quickest example I could come up with. Please don't come after me, Valley Mills, Texas Lodge. They're like not the ones high in power or super well connected on a higher scale. There's tiers, there's levels, there's
32
layers.
levels, right?
Yeah, well, and then conspiracy theories will tell you that there's actually 33. And the 33rd one is the one that is part of the Illuminati and the New World Order. And they're part of the ones that are, at the table making the decisions.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, boom, some facts. It is the third busiest airport in the world, as well as the third busiest airport in the United States by passenger traffic. Denver has been among the top 20th busiest airports in the world every year since 2000.
Wow.
That's really interesting.
Additionally, what I'm going to put this one in here. It has the third longest runway.
Sorry.
And it features really weird runway because it's got one that takes off in every cardinal direction. And when you look at the map of this, it is a swastika. You cannot convince me otherwise. I feel like maybe I've been conditioned to look for a swastika, but also, like, that's a swastika. Why did you do that?
Yeah, and they talk about, well, yeah, we're going to be adding on to it, so eventually it won't look like that.
Right.
But right now it does, bitch.
You're gonna keep adding in what directions, because, and I mean, I looked at a couple different airport maps, and then there was a video I saw that showed a couple other ones, and they were like, nobody really has a set pattern, but it just, when you are there is not a designer I know that was like, you know what looks really good if I take a line and then I set it next to a line and then I put it in another line and make another line and connect all of them to look, oh, like a swastika. No one's ever just thought that was a great idea except for, well, you know, Nazis. So it's just interesting to me that was the choice that whoever made that map made.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But this is where I start getting a little... Okay. New World Order. For me, that starts tingling some anti-Semitic tropes, right?
New World Order. Nazis didn't trigger any anti-Semitic tropes?
No, everything is triggering anti-Semitic tropes, but especially the New World Order, because that's supposed to be Jewish people, right?
Well, the fear is that the wealthy elite.
Yes.
Racism makes you believe that it's Jewish people. Not you, but people.
Yeah, exactly. No, a lot of times when people are talking about, like, you know, something will not replace us or anything like that, we're getting into the field of I can't even say that word right.
Semitism.
Yes, thank you. And like a New World Order makes me start thinking of that too as well, right? So I don't know, to me, and then all this Nazi, and maybe I'm just like not thinking about this correctly. So please correct me if I'm wrong. No one's, I'm just actually speaking this through. This is not like concrete or anything. Because like I said, New World Order, the wealthy elite, those are supposed to be like Jewish people, right?
Well, it depends. Like the Rothschilds, yes. The Rockefellers are not Jewish. The Astor family is not Jewish. The DuPonts are not Jewish. Yeah, so it just depends on which family you're talking about.
Right, totally. I totally feel that. Thank you for that information too. I really feel that. It's just that's a lot of times used for anti-Semitism. I guess that's where I'm more getting. Right, right. I'm not, I don't know enough about it. This is just things that I'm learning about myself.
Well, no, I mean, it definitely, I think, has leaks into anti-Semitism. I think it has leaks into classism. I think it has leaks into the worry that the government is going to take away full control of your decisions.
Totally. Which is fascism.
Mean, like, in some states, they have.
I like how nobody wanted to touch that. We're not.
No,
we don't have to touch that. It's the truth.
Yep.
Because it is the truth. I got nothing to say to that, man.
Right? I got nothing to say.
You're not wrong.
You're telling. Yeah, so I don't even know. That just, it's all very, I keep wanting to go back to the word, like, interesting. I don't know where people are going with it, I guess. Because are we saying that it's Nazis? Or are we saying it's the wealthy elite? Or we're saying it's both. The wealthy elite are the Nazis.
I mean, the guy that we watched on the video was worried about fascists taking control. I usually think a fascist is a Nazi, but that could also be the ruling class. The whole idea of Silicon Valley now and, like,
I feel you.
That's taken wealth in a whole different direction and the control of technology. You no longer need massive weapons to control populations. You can just shut down the internet grid. You can just shut down the electricity grid via hacking into it. So whoever has the money, whoever has the technology has the control.
Power, yeah.
Yeah, it's about power, right? It's about the knowledge over everyone else. So even after the war, when we brought over Nazi scientists and we let them work for us because we wanted to know what they knew.
Right,
and we just kept it hush-hush. Like, that's not okay. But we wanted that knowledge because it would give us a leg up on our enemies. quote
was
unquote.
and did give us a leg up. Like, straight up gave us a leg up.
Totally.
German physicists and scientists definitely advanced American R&D in ways that were horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get me wrong, but still put them on a leg up. I don't know if it's helping now, but did.
Yes.
So it's about, I think it kind of is bigger than any sort of what religion you are or belief system, anything like that. I think for the people pulling the strings, this new world order, like way at the tippy top, it's just about keeping everyone else under their thumbs.
Right.
Whoever's not in their little circle. And
right.
it's beyond even like an ideology or a religion or things like that.
You would, yeah, totally. And I feel that. But you also, I think we just have, I don't know. I feel like a part of me is talking out of my ass, but I feel like the other part of me is like, but we still have to give knowledge to the fact that people do use the phrasing New World Order or something like that against certain groups of people that might not be, that aren't looking at it the same way you are. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. I don't think anybody's fighting you on that.
It's like another phrase that has been kind of co-opted by people.
Right.
Because
I totally feel that.
There was a point where, yeah, that phrase was used by Hitler to describe the German regime. But there was also times where our own president, was it Nixon or the senior Bush, he also used the phrase New World Order.
Totally.
In a speech, like in an address to the nation.
Yeah.
So it's been co-opted. So now it's being used as an attack on, in a sense, of a anti-Semitic or anti-Zionism or whatever phrase you want to use.
Right.
But I think it's interesting how conspiracy theories latch onto that phrase, the New World Order, and they talk about that's dangerous, to kind of erase the sense of separating the world into countries and us having our own governments and cultures and religions and things like that, and wanting one group in power to
run everything,
essentially be in control of the world. Mm-hmm. So then if you look now, all of a sudden that phrase is anti-Semitic. You have to be careful when you use that phrase because that's now being co-opted and it's turned into something with like a negative, even like a different kind of negative connotation than what it originally was to conspiracy theorists. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like taking that phrase and spinning it so that now you have to be careful even talking about it. Because as a conspiracy theorist, we're talking, you mentioned it, other people might view it as differently the way we're talking about it. We're talking about it as the way of a literal one world government. Mm-hmm. But some people see it as anti-Semitic.
Yeah, totally.
But that's not what it was. So it's just interesting how the narrative can flip in a way to where you almost have to be careful how you talk about things when you're speaking out against the people in power, or you're speaking out on conspiracy theories or things like that. Just like the phrase conspiracy theorist was such a negative connotation. It was literally like, oh, get your tinfoil hat because these people are crazy. Mm-hmm.
Which is something they do with alien abductees and people who cite UFOs. They were talking about that recently, that there's no support, there's no organization that these people can go to and communicate with that don't look at them and are like, oh, you're fucking insane, unless they're the Starborn sisters.
Right, totally.
Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying. And
right.
Weirdly enough, being co-opted by the other side almost helps force it underground to keep people from talking about it, making it more like we have to do codes, we have to do signs, we have to do all this other bullshit that secret societies like to hide in plain sight and do.
Right.
Yeah, because it's no longer like being a conspiracy theorist, because so many conspiracies have been proven to be a thing. Like there's proof now that our government has done false flag operations. They've done experiments on the people, and not even just our government, but governments around the world have been colluding with each other and all these bad things. So being a conspiracy theorist is no longer necessarily such a taboo. So now, okay, how do we break it down further? Okay, if someone starts talking about the New World Order and being against it, now they're anti-Semitic. And now you have to be careful with that.
Sometimes people do be anti-Semitic whenever they talk about it. No lie. Alex Jones.
Right, and I think this is why it's an important conversation to be had, too. Because we know you. We know you're not anti-Semitic, so we know what you're talking about, the New World Order. That's not what you're talking about. And that's great. We can actually explain it to the people. So I think that's a good way that we're, like, breaking it down. But that is, unfortunately, like, for certain people, especially when they're talking about, like, the Hollywood elite, I think that's where it's getting a little, maybe even a little bit more anti-Semitic.
Entertainment.
Yeah, when you go back into more, like, entertainment. But I can understand when you were actually just talking about rich, wealthy families, how that definitely isn't anti-Semitic. Like, because, like, you just listed all these families that have no Jewish heritage at all that are still lumped into this category, but because so many people are trying to turn it into an anti-Semitic thing, like you're saying, like when people are actually really trying to have a conversation about the wealthy people who are holding so many, that 1% we're talking about that are holding everybody else back and down in this, cleansing of the population, that has nothing to, but even saying it, sometimes you're like, wait a minute, that sounds weird, but that is something that people want to do, and like we're being distracted by other things. So like that's where I'm like, I totally agree with you.
Or I wonder if it's because like the Rothschilds family, which is very involved in like the national banks of a lot of countries, they are Ashkenazi Jewish, and so I wonder if when people think of the elite, they kind of just, it's almost like a blanket assumption, and it's like that really bad, awful stereotype that has kind of permeated this.
So true.
Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true, Natalie, because then you start getting back into that kind of like political stuff, like the political stuff. And depending on where you're getting like a lot of this information, where does your mind go right when you start thinking about the wealthy elite, So that is so true. Thank you so much. That was a great conversation. And I think it was really important because conspiracy theorists shouldn't feel like they are being lumped in with a group of people that they don't align with as well.
Yeah.
Also, if you're a conspiracy theorist that's a Nazi, don't do that. Don't be that.
Yeah, just stop it right now.
Because they're trying to get all of us. It's not just one group. They're coming after everybody. Like, let's work together. Not in a global one state thing, though. Please don't. I'm not part of them.
It just kind of goes back to that there's like kind of crazy radical people in almost every single aspect of life and every single movement, religion, theology, everything. There's always going to be some people that give it a bad rap, and I don't think there's anything wrong with being a conspiracy theorist that reads up on the Denver airport and thinks, what if they really do have reptiles in an underground bunker? That would be wild, man. How crazy, man.
Right, totally.
Without being looped into this group that has taken things way too far and turned it into something kind of shitty.
Right, totally.
The people that are worried that there's some kind of chemical in the water that's turning the frogs gay.
You know what's funny though? That's actually true.
Frogs are gay?
So it's making frogs like asexual, or like the male frogs are becoming female. It's like it actually is, like, Alex Jones was not wrong, and that's really fucked up to say, and I hate that I just said that. But
I did hear someone else saying that. That doesn't sound like the frogs are gay, though. That doesn't sound like the frogs are gay. But it does open up that important conversation about the chemicals in our water. Like, that is an issue.
Mm-hmm.
And like I agree,
But that is an issue for another time.
Yes. And I just want to just take another moment to thank you, Natalie, for having such an open and honest conversation with us, because it does really open my mind to the way things are being like clumped together and misinformed and all that kind of stuff. So I just want to take another moment and thank you for that.
Well, and I want to take a moment and thank you for coming on and talking about another conspiracy with us. I always appreciate you coming in and taking your time and
opening our minds,
giving us wonderful stories.
Yeah, it's always fun, and I get excited every time you guys reach out and want to do another one. So thank you guys for having me again.
Yes, this is so fun.
Do you have any final thoughts in the Denver airport that you want to leave us with?
I don't know, man. I think that there is something to be said about, who knows, maybe there is a underground bunker or underground city for the elites down there. I think it's pretty interesting. I think it's funny that the airport leans into the conspiracy theories, and when they're doing construction, they have the signs talking about the reptiles and or the reptilians and things like that, and aliens. So I think it's funny that they lean into it. Is there reptilians underneath the Denver airport? Probably not, guys. Sorry to break it to you. But yeah, is there something to it? Who knows? But is it fun? Hell yeah, it is.
Definitely.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Natalie. And can't wait to have you on for our next conspiracy.
Yes.
All right. Newsflash. Quick important update from Amanda and I. We have a YouTube page. Woo! And guess what? We're going to have a video on it. Several videos. Encounters reacts to a bunch of things we found spooky on the internet. So make sure you follow us on YouTube for all the spooky content. The name of our YouTube channel is Encounters the Podcast. Or it's Encounters a Paranormal Experience. One of the two. If you like what you hear, you should follow us on our social. We're on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. If you've got a spooky story or you've got something you want us to cover, send us an email at encountersthepodcast@gmail.com. Join us next time when we talk about spooky cryptids. It's October, and it wouldn't be October without a bunch of spooky cryptids. Join us to talk about the Fresno night crawlers and more.
Whatever we think of.
And until next time, I'm Dakota.
I'm Amanda.
Stay spooky.